let's take a look at one more of these conditional logic-based functions. Now I'm going to give you a quick little peek into a function that we're going to take a look at in the next section. This is going to deal with the VLOOKUP or the vertical lookup function. Now open in front of you, I've still got the same example file. I'm on the VLOOKUP function worksheet. And we'll talk some more about this later on as you go through this course. But for now, let's take a look at the iferror function. Now, no matter how careful you happen to be within Excel, you're going to run into errors at some point. Whether it's a misspelled function name, it's an incorrect range of cells that were selected when the function was created, it's improper input that was put into the document itself, it's a later edit that then messes up the formula, whatever it happens to be. Maybe somebody deleted content that a previous formula needed. Well, because that content's no longer around, the original formula now fails, it breaks. So we're going to take a look at how we can display something useful if there's an error. Now, inside of Excel, there are a handful of different types of errors. On this particular worksheet, this VLOOKUP function worksheet, I've got 3 cells that contain an error. This is a pretty standard error inside of Excel. What's happening here is I've got these employee IDs that are being used inside of a formula, a VLOOKUP formula, that is gathering last names based on the employee ID from another worksheet. Well, the problem is with these 3 cells where they have the #NA or not available, the problem is these IDs that are being used to look up the last names with the VLOOKUP, these IDs don't exist. So 3000, there is no employee number 3000. There is no employee number 3011 or 4125. If I were to change that to say, let's try one that exists, like 1054, hit my enter key, well, it found Smith because 1054 is a valid employee ID. Well, let's put 3000 back in there. Now, at some point, maybe we had employees, 3000, 3011, 4125, or we have them, they actually exist, but they just don't happen to be kept inside of our Excel list at this moment. So these are perhaps valid values, but we just can't find them for one reason or another. Now, again, we're getting a standard Excel error. That's not what I want. I don't want this standard Excel error. I want it to say something like, this employee doesn't exist, or employee ID was not found. I want something a little more descriptive to present to the user rather than this really generic out-of-the-box error message that Excel spits out to us. You know, you might look at that and be like, what's #NA? What's that all about? Why am I getting that? Well, let's be more descriptive here. So here's the iferror function. Watch this. So I'm going to click into B11 where I've got my first error. And up above, I can see my formula there. This is the VLOOKUP or vertical lookup function. Again, we'll talk more about this in a later lecture. Now, all I'm going to do here is click right after the equal sign up there. And I'm going to type in iferror. And I'm going to open up a parentheses. Now, the iferror function, it's a built-in function inside of Excel. And I can see I got a little screen tip here. The value and value if error. So 2 things. And to make this even more visual here, I'll click on the FX button. So this took me to the VLOOKUP arguments. That's not really what I want. So I'm going to click back on the if error portion of my formula here at the top. All right, here we are. So if error, there's my VLOOKUP. That's what I'm trying to evaluate. That's the value. If there's an error in the value, then I get to tell it what to do if there's an error. Well, remember the VLOOKUP failed. It said I can't find employee number 3000. So I get the error back NA. So I'm going to change that. Because there's an error, value if error, I'm going to say, I'm going to put this in quotes. We'll say imp ID wasn't found. Close the quotes. There we are. So if there's an error in the original value or in the original formula, then I'm going to do this. And that's it. I'll hit OK. And there we have it. Let's make that column a little wider. If there was an error, employee ID wasn't found. And I'm just going to copy that down 2 cells. And there we have it. So now rather than this generic error message, £NA or £div/0 or pound name, like there's a handful of different Excel errors that just come out of the box based on the type of error that was found, we can replace it utilizing this if error function. 2 things. What am I evaluating? Where's the error potentially at? In this case, it was the VLOOKUP. Then, what do you want to do if there's an error? Try this out. Open up the example file, hop over to the VLOOKUP worksheet, and fix those 3 formulas right there. Or perhaps, go up to the topmost one, fix that one, and then copy it down using the autofill. Either way, try it out.